Have you ever pulled into a truck stop late at night, looked up at a row of parked semis with their curtains drawn and their parking lights glowing, and wondered what is actually going on inside those cabs? Because from the outside, a sleeper truck looks like a metal box, a utilitarian, diesel-scented, road-worn metal box. And yet if you ask a long-haul driver whether they would rather sleep in that box or check into a hotel room 50 meters away, a surprising number of them will choose the truck, every single time. Not because they cannot afford the hotel, not because they do not know what a real bed feels like, but because after months and years on the road, the cab stopped being a vehicle and became something else entirely. It became home. And home, as any driver will tell you, beats a generic hotel room in ways that a non-driver finds genuinely hard to understand. So today we are going to get into exactly that. Why do professional truck drivers, people who spend more nights away from their actual houses than most people spend on vacation in a lifetime, consistently prefer sleeping in their cab over checking into a hotel? The answer involves money, psychology, practicality, and something deeper than all of those things that has everything to do with what it means to spend your life on the road. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a parked sleeper the same way again. First, let us talk about the money, because it always starts with the money. Trucking is a business. Whether you're an owner-operator running your own rig or a company driver working for a carrier, every dollar matters. And the economics of overnight stops are something drivers think about constantly in a way that civilians almost never do. A decent hotel room along a major freight corridor in the United States runs somewhere between $80 and $150 per night, depending on location and season. Now, that might sound reasonable for an occasional business trip, but a long-haul driver is not on an occasional business trip. They are on a permanent one. A driver running 250 nights a year away from home, which is not unusual in this industry, would spend between $20,000 and $37,000 per year on hotels alone if they checked in every single night. That is not an expense, that is a second mortgage. And for owner-operators who are running their own business out of that truck and carrying every cost themselves, that number is not theoretical. It comes directly out of their bottom line: the fuel, the tires, the insurance, the truck payment. And then $37,000 a year to sleep somewhere else when they already own something perfectly good to sleep in. The math does not work, and drivers know it. Company drivers sometimes receive a per diem allowance for meals and accommodation, but that allowance rarely covers what a hotel actually costs in a busy freight hub during a busy week. And every dollar a driver spends on a hotel that their per diem does not cover is a dollar that came out of their own pocket, from a paycheck that already has to stretch across weeks on the road. So the financial case for sleeping in the truck is not subtle. It is overwhelming. But money alone does not explain the preference, because even drivers who could comfortably afford a hotel, drivers who have been in the industry long enough to build serious financial stability, often still choose the cab. And that is where the story gets more interesting. The cab knows you. The hotel does not. Here's something that takes a while to fully appreciate if you have never lived on the road. A modern sleeper cab, properly set up by a driver who has been doing this for years, is not a compromise. It is a precision environment calibrated to exactly one person's needs, and that person is the driver sleeping in it tonight. The mattress has been broken into their body. The pillow is the one they brought from home 3 years ago because it is the only pillow that does not give them a stiff neck. The temperature is set to exactly the degree they sleep best at, controlled by a bunk heater they trust, because they serviced it themselves last month. The curtains block light completely, because they installed blackout curtains after one too many parking lot lights ruining their sleep. The white noise from the HVAC system is familiar, predictable, and weirdly comforting at this point. Now walk into a hotel room. The mattress is a mystery, could be firm, could be soft, could be something that was last rotated during a previous administration. The pillow situation is a lottery. The room temperature is controlled by a wall unit that either blasts Arctic air or gives up entirely at 3 a.m. The curtains have a gap in the middle that lets in a perfectly aimed shaft of parking lot light directly onto your face. The hallway outside has other guests, other doors slamming, other people existing at inconvenient hours. Drivers talk about this constantly. The hotel is unfamiliar, and unfamiliarity is the enemy of real sleep, real rest. The kind of deep, restorative sleep that a person needs when they are going to climb back into a 40-ton vehicle and make life and death decisions on a busy highway at 6 a.m. Bad sleep in a hotel is not just uncomfortable. It is a safety issue, and professional drivers take it seriously. The cab, by contrast, is completely known. Every sound it makes is a sound the driver has heard 1,000 times. Every smell is familiar. The layout in the dark is memorized to the inch. Getting up at midnight to use the facilities, getting water, adjusting the temperature, all of it happens without thought, in the dark in under 30 seconds. There is a psychological comfort in that familiarity that is almost impossible to replicate in a hotel room you have never seen before and will never see again. Security, real security, not hotel room security. Let us talk about something that does not come up often enough in these conversations. Security, not just personal security for the driver, but security for the truck and its cargo. A loaded trailer can be carrying anything: electronics, pharmaceuticals, high-value consumer goods, construction equipment, depending on the load. That trailer might be carrying cargo worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and a driver who checks into a hotel and walks away from that trailer for 8 hours is a driver who is hoping very sincerely that nothing happens to it overnight. Cargo theft is a real and serious problem in the trucking industry. It costs the industry billions of dollars per year globally, and the most vulnerable moment for any load is when the truck is parked and the driver is not in it. Sophisticated cargo theft operations specifically target trucks at truck stops and hotel parking lots during overnight rest periods because that is the window where the cargo is stationary and unattended. A driver sleeping in the cab is a driver sleeping on top of their load. Their presence alone is a deterrent. They hear things. They notice things. An unfamiliar sound at 3 a.m., a shadow moving past the curtain, a vibration in the trailer that should not be there. Drivers develop a sixth sense for their rig after years in it, and they sleep lightly enough to catch things that a security camera in a parking lot will record but never prevent. For owner-operators especially, the truck is their livelihood, their business asset, and often a major part of their net worth. Leaving it unattended overnight is not something they do casually. The cab is not just where they sleep, it is where they keep watch. The schedule does not care about check-in times. Here is a practical reality of trucking life that people outside the industry rarely consider. Truck drivers do not always have the luxury of arriving somewhere at a time that aligns with a hotel's operational hours or check-in process. Regulations in both North America and Europe govern exactly when drivers must rest and for how long. In the United States, the hours of service rules require drivers to take a mandatory 10-hour rest period after 11 hours of driving. In Europe, the rules are similar in structure. What this means in practice is that a driver's mandatory rest period begins at whatever moment they hit their limit, not when it is convenient, not when there's a hotel nearby with available rooms. Right now, wherever the truck is, the clock says stop. That might be 11 p.m. in the middle of an industrial area. It might be 4 a.m. at a truck stop with no hotel attached. It might be at a rest area off a highway where the nearest accommodation is 20 miles away, which would require driving another 20 miles. Which the driver legally cannot do until they have rested. The sleeper cab solves all of this instantly. The truck stops, the driver climbs through the curtain, lies down, and the rest period begins. No check-in process, no front desk, no waiting for a room to be ready, no shuttle bus from the parking lot. The bed is where the truck is, and the truck is always somewhere. This flexibility is not a minor convenience. It is a fundamental part of how professional drivers manage their schedules across thousands of miles and weeks on the road. The ability to rest exactly when and exactly where the regulations require without any logistical friction is worth more than most people realize. What a modern sleeper cab actually looks like inside. Here's where a lot of people's mental picture needs a serious update, because they are imagining something that does not exist anymore. The cramped Spartan bunk of the 1970s is ancient history. Modern sleeper cabs, especially the high-spec units favored by experienced owner-operators, are genuinely impressive living spaces. Take the flagship sleepers from Peterbilt, Kenworth, or Freightliner. The largest sleeper configurations stretch 72 to 80 inches behind the cab, which is 6 to nearly 7 feet of dedicated living space. That space contains a full-size mattress, often a premium foam or air mattress that many drivers have upgraded themselves, overhead cabinets for clothing and personal items, underbunk storage for tools, spare gear, and provisions, a small refrigerator, often a 12-volt compressor unit that keeps things genuinely cold rather than just slightly less warm, a microwave, a coffee maker, because the coffee maker is non-negotiable, built-in USB and power outlets, LED lighting with adjustable brightness for reading versus sleeping, climate control separate from the main cab, and in many rigs, a flat-screen TV mounted to the wall or ceiling. Some drivers go considerably further. Custom cabinetry that maximizes every inch of storage space, inverters running full-size appliances, satellite internet connections, premium sound systems, standing room in the larger configurations with enough headroom to move around properly, curtains and window treatments that turn the sleeping area into a completely sealed, completely dark, completely private space. European trucks approach the same challenge differently, as we have talked about in previous videos. The cab-over design used by Scania, Volvo, and Mercedes creates a different kind of interior geometry, more vertical space, a different layout, but the same fundamental commitment to turning the sleeper into a functional home. The Scania Topline, for example, has become legendary among European drivers for the quality of its interior, the ergonomics of its controls, and the livability of its sleeping space. And here's the detail that matters. All of this belongs to the driver. They chose it, they configured it, they maintain it, and it is set up for them specifically. A hotel room is set up for a statistical average of the guests who might occupy it. That is a fundamentally different thing. The routines that make the road livable. Long-haul trucking at its most sustainable is a life built on routine. Drivers who thrive on the road for years and decades are almost always drivers who have built reliable, repeatable routines around sleep, meals, exercise, and rest. And the cab is the anchor of all of those routines. The nightly ritual of a seasoned driver is a precise and comfortable thing. Pull into the spot, check the load, walk around the rig, maybe cook something in the cab. A proper meal from a portable induction cooktop or the microwave. Not a gas station sandwich from a rotating rack. Make a call home. Sort the paperwork. Set the bunk heater or the APU. Make the coffee for the morning and put it in the thermos. Get into a bunk that has been made the same way for 3 years. Close the curtains. Sleep. Every step of that routine is familiar, comfortable, and efficient. Every hotel introduces variables into that routine, a different layout to navigate in the dark, a shower that works differently, a lock that takes 3 tries, an air conditioning unit that clicks and hums in an unfamiliar rhythm. Small things individually, but stacked together night after night, those variables are friction, and friction over hundreds of nights is exhausting. The cab eliminates the friction. The routine works the same way in a truck stop in Tennessee as it does in a rest area in Montana as it does in a staging yard in New Jersey. Same cab, same setup, same sleep. The consistency is not just comforting. It is genuinely restorative in a way that matters for both performance and mental health on long runs. The social dimension nobody talks about. Here's something that surprises people who have never spent time around truckers. The truck stop parking lot at night is not an anonymous, isolated place. It is a community, a temporary, transient, constantly rotating community, but a community nonetheless. Drivers who have been working the same routes for years recognize each other. They exchange nods, waves, brief conversations at the fuel island. They share information about traffic conditions ahead, about scale house hours, about a particular road surface that has gone bad since last week. They look out for each other in the way that people sharing a hard profession look out for each other. Checking into a hotel and closing the door is socially a form of isolation from that community. It pulls you out of the ecosystem of the truck stop, away from the fuel lanes and the diner and the parking lot conversations, and deposits you into a generic room that could be anywhere. Some drivers genuinely prefer that isolation on certain nights, but many do not. And for the ones who have built their social world around the road, staying in the truck keeps them connected to it. There's also a pride element that is worth naming directly. A well-maintained, well-equipped sleeper is an expression of identity for many drivers, especially owner-operators. The truck is their business, their craft, and their home, all in one machine. Taking care of it, sleeping in it, living in it properly, is an expression of professionalism and self-sufficiency that the culture of trucking has always valued. Checking into a hotel can feel, to some drivers, like admitting that the truck is not enough. And for drivers who have invested years and significant money into making their truck genuinely excellent, that is a feeling they are not particularly interested in. When drivers do choose the hotel, now, in the name of honesty, let us be clear about something. Drivers do choose hotels sometimes, not rarely, but sometimes, and for good reasons. After an unusually difficult run, extreme weather, a mechanical problem, heavy traffic, a load that fought them at every stop. Sometimes a driver needs more than the cab can offer. A real shower with unlimited hot water because the truck stop shower is fine, but it has a timer. A restaurant meal served at a table. A swim in a pool if one is available. a complete change of environment that signals to the brain that the work is truly paused for the night. Drivers also often choose hotels when they are close to home or when a run takes them somewhere they have not been before and they want to experience the place a little. Trucking takes people to corners of the country that they would never otherwise see. And some drivers, particularly the curious ones, take genuine advantage of that. A hotel in a town with a good main street and a local restaurant is a different experience than a chain motel off a highway exit. And experienced drivers know the difference and seek out the former when the schedule allows. There is also the issue of maintenance. When a truck is in a shop overnight for a repair it cannot avoid, a hotel becomes the obvious answer. You cannot sleep in your office when the building is being renovated. Same principle. But these are exceptions, and drivers will tell you they are exceptions. The default, the preference, the comfortable and familiar choice for most experienced long-haul drivers most of the time is the cab. Not because it is always better in every measurable way, but because it is theirs. What the hotel industry gets wrong about truck drivers, here is a thought that is worth sitting with for a moment. The hotel industry has, for a very long time, largely ignored the professional truck driver as a customer. Standard hotel parking lots do not accommodate a semi-truck and trailer combination, which means a driver who wants to check in has to drop the trailer somewhere nearby, bobtail to the hotel, and then sort out getting back to the rig in the morning. That is a logistical problem that eliminates most hotel options immediately. The hotels specifically built near truck stops and freight hubs often have adequate parking, but they vary enormously in quality, cleanliness, and security. And the price, as we discussed at the start of this video, remains a consistent barrier. Some forward-thinking hospitality concepts have started to emerge that address this: dedicated rest facilities built specifically for drivers with truck-size parking, basic but clean rooms, shower facilities, and food service designed around the schedules and needs of people who need to be moving again in 10 hours. These are genuinely useful, and drivers who use them appreciate them, but they are still the exception in the landscape, not the rule. Until the infrastructure catches up to the actual needs of drivers, the sleeper cab will remain the most practical, most reliable, and most personal overnight solution available on the road. And given how much the industry has invested in making those sleepers genuinely excellent over the past 2 decades, that is not necessarily a bad thing, the deeper truth. So why do truck drivers prefer the cab over a hotel room? The honest answer is that the question itself slightly misses the point. Because for a driver who has been on the road long enough, the cab is not the alternative to a proper place to sleep. The cab is the proper place to sleep. The hotel is the alternative. Think about it from the inside. You have spent 3 years in this truck. You know every sound it makes when it is healthy and every sound it makes when something is slightly off. You have set up the bunk exactly the way you need it. You have the coffee situation handled. You have the temperature dialed in. You have the curtains blocking the light from a particular angle because you figured that out 6 months ago in a parking lot in Ohio and fixed it the next day. This truck has taken you across 48 states. It has been through blizzards and heat waves and fog and rain that made the road invisible. It has been your office, your dining room, your bedroom, and your living room for more nights than you can count. The hotel room down the road has been someone else's for all of those nights, and it will be someone else's again tomorrow. The cab is not a substitute for a home. For a lot of long-haul drivers, it is home. Not a sad or reluctant home, not a compromise home. A real one built mile by mile, night by night, into exactly what one person needs it to be. And that, more than the money saved, more than the security advantage, more than the scheduling flexibility, is why so many drivers close the curtain on the parking lot. Listen to the familiar sounds of the truck settling for the night, and sleep better than they ever do anywhere else. Have you ever slept in a vehicle for an extended period? And do you think you could make a truck cab feel like home? Drop it in the comments below. We genuinely want to know. Thanks for watching Titan Haulers, and remember to subscribe for much more.